Hello, 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 everyone. We will begin in a few minutes when everybody joins in. So today I will be hosting our weekly space because Gus has taken this evening off to visit a concert. And together with me will be our Raskul, who is a BEAM ambassador from Miners and also an accomplished author and obviously connoisseur of fine single malt whiskies. How are you doing this evening?
I'm well, thank you very much. And how is yourself?
I'm fine as long as I am in a well-conditioned, room because we are about to experience a very hot week here in Israel with temperatures around like 45, 47 degrees Celsius, which is quite a lot.
Wow.
Yeah. It's
I
like
think
this kind of last heat of summer.
I think the last time I was there, it was kind of like that temperature. Don't get anywhere near that in Scotland, so I'm happy to run my mining machines whenever.
Yeah. Israel is not a good place for mining for several reasons. Heat is obviously one of them. Also, the electricity is very expensive, which I believe is the situation also in Europe, right? The prices of electricity are rising.
Yeah, we're looking at another 80% increase in October, so it's going to be tight.
Yeah. So before we start with our main topic tonight, what do you think is going to happen with all of these GPU miners once Ethereum merges and switches to proof of stake?
According to my sheets, there are two or three coins which are edging their way up, but it's going to be pure speculation for miners for probably 3 months before something emerges. Hopefully, Beam. Something emerges as the front runner. I just think the Ethereum situation is it's a regression, to be honest.
Yeah, well, it's certainly going to be very, let's say, interesting, not necessarily in a good way, but we will see how it will develop. But definitely something that will affect, I think, most of the industry in the coming months. Yeah, and we are going that closely, obviously, with everyone else. So our main topic tonight is Web3. And we're going to talk about what it is, who needs it, what are potential uses, and we are going to discuss several interesting concepts. Only, Raskul, when you're not talking, could you mute yourself because there's some background noises? Yeah. So let's kind of start with the basics, and obviously everyone is welcome to join in at any time and ask questions, or if you have something to say, you're more than welcome. So Web3 is this kind of new thing, right? It's not very new. The first time this term was used was back in 2014, actually. Gavin Wood coined it, and it became kind of more popular recently in 2021, actually late 2021, like kind of more and more companies, projects, and investors went into this kind of strange Web3 thing and started talking about it. And as usual, the entire kind of conversation immediately started to split between people who are saying that it's the next best thing since sliced bread and people who are saying that it's bullshit and nobody actually needs it. So today we are going to try to make sense of what is Web3, who actually needs it, and how it can be used. So first of all, my opinion of technology in general is that technology does not solve any issues or problems in it of itself. It's like how we use this technology is matters. And any technology can be used well, or on the opposite, can be abused, or basically lead to anything. And Web3 is also not an exception, right? And also we know that each technology has this adoption cycle where in the beginning, a lot of people are kind of like early adopters and they promote this idea, and obviously they have to, hype it, and they have to push it everywhere, like let's do, Web3 that and Web3 this. And this is what creates this perception that we're trying to solve problems that don't necessarily exist, right, in many cases. However, eventually what happens is that the technology becomes kind of more mainstream, and it does take these niches that are better for it, and it abandons the things that are not kind of appropriate or not interesting or not profitable. So what is Web3? Web3 is a combination of three things. It's a combination of decentralization as a concept, tokenomics, as in using virtual currencies to pay for things, and the blockchain, which gives us this platform on which we can run these decentralized pay with these tokens. This is a definition that you can today see in the Wikipedia article about it, and this is kind of the common denominator that unites all of these different approaches and different kind of explanations about what is Web3. Web3 comes to not to replace, but let's say as a reaction to Web 2. So Web 2 was a very important evolutionary step in the development of the World Wide Web, when web applications and websites became interactive. So the first early days, kind of long time ago in a galaxy far, far away, the web was just a page that you could read. And maybe you could read the next page, and that was about it. However, when the technologies developed, suddenly a web became much more kind of interactive in terms that you could upload images, like create conversations, talk with people, and do quite a lot of different things. Obviously, with the addition of smart mobile devices in 2007, with the addition of iPhone, it became ubiquitous. Now you cannot leave the house without taking this entire internet with you, and you rarely ever disconnect. And in time, more and more kind of things, activities and behaviors and things people do became somehow related to the web. You go to whatever, Facebook or Twitter, to share your opinions or to share your photos from the vacation. You have friends there, you have text there, and media and videos. YouTube became an amazing platform for sharing like anything from kind of tutorials, educational videos, and just basically anything. And it wasn't just the quantity that kind of changed, it was also the quality, because people came to rely on Web 2 for a lot of different things from both sides. For example, more and more people consume almost all of their news online. Newspapers that you could kind of take from your door in the morning and then read them in the bus or whatever. Those are gone, right? I only watch TV when I go to my dentist appointment. They have a TV running there all the time, so that's probably the only place I see TV, and also my parents' house, obviously. But other than that, I never watch TV anymore. There was a funny story a couple of days ago. Me and my daughter went to visit my parents, and there was a movie on TV, and my daughter said, "Oh, can you pause this for a second?" And I'm like, "No, you can't pause that. It's TV. It's she's not used to that. She's used to watching everything online." On the other side, people also came to depend on these for their income. So people started being professional bloggers, video creators, music creators, etc. And this is what we call the creator economy. People make money from Instagram and TikTok, and there is like such thing as Instagram models and TikTokers, like professional TikTokers. And obviously, people who earn money from doing these things, they depend on these platforms that host their creations, whether it's YouTube or Instagram or TikTok. And this is where kind of first, let's say, collisions started to kind of emerge. For example, right now, as you probably know, there is a conflict with like Russia and Ukraine. There's a war going on. And one of the things that the world is trying to do to stop it is to sanction like kind of Russian, all kinds of the different things in Russia. And one of these things is that YouTube no longer pays Russian YouTubers money for their yes. There is no payouts there. And suddenly, entire kind of class of people who used to earn from this platform can we get access to it and don't get, like, it's basically their livelihood. So the same thing can happen, like, when somebody is dependent on any platform and suddenly this platform either for any reason closes the account. We see this on Twitter every time. Somebody's complaining, oh, my account is blocked, and that's happening all over for many different reasons, because these platforms are centralized and for-profit organizations that, first of all, have to comply with all kinds of regulations. They have their own terms of use that you cannot break. You cannot show certain things, you cannot say certain things. And the problem with that is not like the very fact that they are behaving like this, but it's sometimes very difficult to, like, even if you are blocked, for a wrong reason, or you shouldn't have been, it's very difficult to get to them. And, we need to do all kinds of, jumping through hoops to make your account unblocked and things like that. So one of the reactions to this was the concept of decentralization, because people said, listen, I understand, like, why I need to use your platform, but I want to be able to control the data that, the things that I'm doing on your platform better. The data itself, by the way, that you create for these platforms, it is completely controlled by the platform itself, right? You like, if we take Facebook, there were like numerous occasions where your data was sold behind your back to third parties, right? And in many cases, it's not something transparent, or not transparent at all. You with me, Raskul, on that?
Yeah, I think there's also, you've got to factor in the human nuance of that as well. That there's always somebody up the line who has a personal ideology. So your sense of resistance takes a hit every turn, sort of thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And now, when you're using, for example, machine learning and AI and all kinds of things, it gets even scarier, because in certain cases you cannot even explain, or sometimes you can, but sometimes you cannot explain why something was blocked. There is an algorithm that's running, detecting all sorts of violations and blocking you, right? And there was this story a couple of days ago about a father who sent a picture of his baby to his doctor, decided that it was child pornography and blocked his account. Did you hear that one?
I didn't see that one personally. No, that's an interesting. That was generated by AI, was it?
Yeah, so there is an automatic detection that sees something that obviously can be easily recognized. It was an infant, I think, and then there is this automatic tagging. But the problem is that it took him quite a lot of time, even after the police said that it's totally fine, there is no violation here. Like, there is the police, there is the state, and there is Google, and the Google, I don't know, I don't care, right? It's your problem. Don't do it. So this is kind of the situation in which, first of all, you feel helpless, you feel betrayed, you feel that you cannot trust this platform to kind of help you in anything, right? It's this very obtuse mechanism, like something that does not really care about you, right? So all of these frustrations started to pile on. And when this blockchain technology kind of became more and more powerful with the additional smart contracts and faster blockchains, suddenly there was this insight that some of these technologies can be actually used to resolve some of these issues. So one good example I'd like to talk about is proof of origin. You remember we talked about it a couple of years ago. You actually brought it up.
And I don't recall.
Yeah, proof of origin. I think you talked about. I don't remember. I think it was text, or like in textual form. Basically, the idea that you can very prove when something was published and by whom. Because
Yeah. There was what I was looking at the time was going back to the newspaper thing. I worked in the media. I was a photographer for the newspapers, and at the time we
exactly.
were looking at some sort of mechanism to store images on a decentralized database and some way of doing that. So I get a call now. Sorry.
Exactly. So the point is that when you go to a lot of websites today, there is no reference for even date in some cases, but there definitely is no way or no like reliable mechanism to make sure that the page was not changed. And it's very important. So the good sources, the high quality sources, obviously they state the date of the publication, and they also mention the fact that it was updated. So usually when you see the article, at the bottom you see this kind of separate section. It was updated on this and this date with this and this information. But this is the good sources. However, if the person that just goes to the page and changes something and republishes it, there is an internet wayback machine, yes, which is an archival kind of server that scans the internet every once in a while and stores all of the snapshots. But this is an external resource, but the source itself does not have any information when it was updated. And in many cases, especially when we're talking about articles and not news and things like which are more generic, there is not even a mention of the date. So internet Web2 does not solve this, but Web3 does, because when you use blockchain, there is always a marker, there's always a relation to a specific block when this change was made. And it makes information much more kind of trackable and reliable in this specific scenario. And this is example number one. So example number two is who is the source of the information. So for example, as you know, there is a lot of fake news, as we all know now, from if not from anyone else, then from Donald Trump. There's a lot of fake news out there. And it's a problem because people are relying on the news, like on the web too, for the news, and they read a lot of news online. And actually, there is a lot of trust put into individual bloggers, individual journalists who are not necessarily affiliated with any kind of major publications, but who report things as they're happening, even live and from different locations on the planet. And once this piece of news is published, it then gets republished by all of the rest, right? And in many cases, this news spread very quickly, and we don't necessarily know whether these truths, like they're true or not. So what we would be really interested in is tracking the original source, because if the original source is reliable, like it has reputation, and we can definitely know who published it first, it would make it easier for us to kind of gauge the correctness or the truthness of this news. And we know that modern social networks are easily manipulated by bots. And by the way, it was kind of the root of this recent scandal with Elon Musk trying to buy Twitter, and it didn't happen because there was probably, amongst other things, discovered that there are actually much more bots on Twitter than they care to disclose. And easy to create these fake personalities and try to spread this news as wide as possible, because it's difficult to trace the source, difficult to understand where it was published first.
And it's not just Twitter that you see that on; it's right across the web. To be honest, I mean, you pretty much everything that you look at, and your social media sites and your chat channels and stuff like that is it's overpopulated by bots now, isn't it?
Absolutely. There are bots everywhere, and this is exactly the point, that since it's so difficult to trace the origin, it works. Like you see it somewhere. You cannot do quite a lot of research, because even if you try, how far can you go? So blockchain solves that as well, because in blockchain you can see and construct, just like you can construct a transaction graph in a sense. The same graph can be more easily constructed for this information dissemination, and this is kind of the big thing, right? It's not something minor. The third point is the ownership of the data, once again, because the data, as we mentioned, is stored on the platform, but belongs to someone, definitely not you. It can be Facebook, it can be Google, it can be Twitter, whoever, but it's not your data. And then we get to all of these kind of stories, how this data is used, whether it's used legitimate or legitimate. And like, for example, even if Facebook does everything by the book and behaves, it does not mean that somebody kind of secondary access to that data, as we saw in the like there is a movie about it. I don't remember what it's called, that tells exactly the story of how information that was kind of not exactly legally or like partially legally obtained from Facebook was used for very direct targeting of voters in the United States during the election, and I think it was Cambridge Analytics or Cambridge Analytica, the name of the company that did this very kind of sophisticated voter targeting. So all of these things happen because the data, after all, is not yours. So this is kind of point number 3. And when the ideologists of Web3 come to solve these problems, they say, wait a minute, let's kind of split this world into 2 parts. Let's talk about you, your identity, your data, and everything that belongs to you, and the services that you want to get from these companies. They don't have to be on the same kind of in the same hands, because today that's what's happening. You come to any platform, Twitter, Facebook, whatever, you create a new account with your email, and this account is only valid on this platform. It belongs to this platform, and that's it. They control you, and then they do a lot of things like tracking you with cookies. A couple of days ago, I wanted to buy. So my brother, he has an old car, and we kind of spoke, and we decided that we want to restore it. So I was looking for some gasket for the carburetor for this old 30 years old car. And I went, and when I was looking for this model, it's kind of difficult to find, obviously. I got to a website in Philippines that was selling this. And now all of my Twitter is filled with kind of, posts from Philippines. How did that happen? I don't know. But obviously it happened because they were tracking me through cookies, right? There is no other explanation.
That's right. Yeah.
And this is just like one example. Like when they get a piece of you, they milk it for what it's worth, for advertising and for whatever they're like trying to get more engagement. So when you have your data and your identity owned by you, you come with your own credentials to this platform and you say, listen, what are you doing here? You're streaming Spotify. Great. I just want to here my cat also agrees with that. I just want to stream music. That's what I want. Here, take my credentials. They're mine. The data is mine. The playlists are mine. Everything is stored and controlled on the blockchain or using the blockchain with decentralization in form of, I don't know, decentralized storage or whatever. I decide how I do that. And you just provide the service and I pay you for it, just like today, but you don't own the data, right? So this is kind of the first idea of separating the ownership of the data and the identity from the services that are provided by the platform.
Yeah.
The second point is how I pay for that, right? So today, obviously, we have a very monolithic structure of payment. You come to the website, it costs $14 a month, you do a subscription or whatever, and you are leaving your credit card. And from now on, you're basically kind of paying to this specific website. And if you want to switch to another service, once again, you have to discontinue that service and you have to kind of move to another service. And the reason for that is because this payment structure is using kind of this old world, methods. But we get a much more flexible, as we know, kind of architecture where you can do micropayments, you can do, kind of more interesting economics than just basically paying for the service every month and moving on. So this also enables kind of new way of thinking about different types of business relationships. And this gives ideas for a lot of companies, and we see this kind of like mushrooms up to the rain appearing, all kinds of ideas. Let's take Upwork and let's put that on chain and let's make that decentralized. And let's do bounties and let's do all kinds of like different payments for like specific services. So it makes kind of or provides more opportunities for engagement, and especially in the creator economy, where a lot of people are making content of various formats, and obviously you as a writer can appreciate that. You can get paid much more easily or in much more flexible ways than you would have if you used kind of traditional methods of establishing an account and creating a credit card or whatever.
It's true, and I mean, in this day and age, people are kind of naive on the internet these days. That even creators don't understand the complexities of their own copyright, and it's so easy to get lost and lose revenue at the end of the day, because companies are taking not necessarily your creative content, but the data of your creative content and just spreading it far and wide, without your say so.
Absolutely. And one of the great examples of that is the recent kind of controversy in a way around GitHub Copilot, which is a machine learning kind of engine that takes all of the open source code that is located on GitHub. GitHub is a huge repository of code, both open source and closed source, but obviously open source is the one that was used. And then provides this suggestion engine. When you're writing code, it can suggest you different functions, methods, modules, etc. As a developer, it makes your life easier, obviously. But as a creator of the original copyrighted, even though it's open source, it has copyright, obviously. And there are several different types of open source licenses. There is kind of more permissive licenses, like the one we're using at Beam. But there are also stricter licenses like GPL, where you have to open source your own code if you are using that code inside yours, right, or as part of your software. So there are all kinds of different nuances there. And it's a big problem because Vision is not exactly trying to figure that out, right? It basically takes code and sometimes it generates new code, but sometimes it also copies existing code or approaches or whatever without referencing the original authors and obviously without paying them. And open source is extremely important. Just to kind of illustrate this point, most of the internet today, all of the servers are running on Linux, which is open source. And the web server, or like one of the most well-known web servers, is Apache web server, which is also open source. I mentioned tons of libraries and are used by developers these days. So open source is a critical part of economy of software. I think that if we would remove open source today, the software as we know it would cease to exist in a way. So when Copilot tries to kind of take this code and use it without referencing anyone, it's not helping this open source movement, and that's why kind of people, I think, very correctly started to criticize this move and try to understand what should be done with it now.
I think ultimately creators demand respect in all industries for what they've created. At the end of the day, nobody likes the hard work ripped off. So ultimately it needs to be a compromise between those who say fork a project or use the info from a project, even given as much as giving a credit to the creator of it is sometimes enough. But these days, people are a bit ignorant to the fact.
Absolutely. So we see projects like T.xyz, for example, trying to solve this problem with how you can pay for using somebody else's libraries or code. So there are attempts to resolve this using Web3 technologies, and I think in time we will see more and more kind of projects like that emerge because the problem is real. Because this specific problem of people contributing to this creator economy in different ways, so right now there is only kind of one viable, I would say, business model, which is advertising, right? And this is exactly what all of these platforms are doing. And this brings us to this kind of counterpoint. Like, why is it so difficult sometimes to create these decentralized solutions for many of these problems? Because let's take Facebook, for example. Once again, our favorite go-to example of evil something. They are storing enormous amount of information, videos, images, data, right? And they're paying a lot of money for servers and bandwidth and infrastructure. It's really, really very expensive. Now, you don't really pay Facebook, like you create a free account and you are using it for, for a while, and you upload movies, which can be large. You don't really think about it, but as some people say, if you don't pay for the product, you are the product, right? So you are the product. What they're selling is your data, and they're selling your data to advertisers who then try to target their advertising to whatever they think you know about you. When you remove this advertiser revenue, it becomes a very big problem for these companies because they cannot really pay for the infrastructure. And recently, I think it was Apple iOS update on iPhones that kind of restricted access to some of the data that Facebook used to get from their mobile applications. And the precision of the targeting of their ads went down, and they started losing revenue. And it's a real pain for Facebook, right? They count on this revenue to pay for all these services that they provide for free to their customers. So obviously, no one of us can run a machine that can host even a fraction of what Facebook hosts for us, right? Or Google or whoever. So decentralization in the same model that business, when theoretically you should be able to download entire node with the entire history of transactions, it does not work. And we see it even with Ethereum today that you can, we're very difficult to download the entire blockchain. It's a lot of information. You need huge machines, like very fast drives. It's not something that anyone can run on their phone or their laptop, and it's a problem. So the approach to decentralization of these kind of services, like social networks, is much more difficult. And this is one of the reasons I think that we don't see a lot of solutions. And the solutions that we do see are kind of limited. Mastodon, I think, is the last kind of one I tried to use. It is a social network. It is decentralized, but it looks like, Facebook in whatever it was established, 1990 something, right?
Yeah, Mastodon had all the ideas, but it just didn't pick up, to be honest, did it? It didn't get the users.
Yeah, because you have all of this problem of how much information you can store, where it is stored, and how it works. Now, today we have more interesting concepts. Like, for example, you have systems like Saya and Skynet, which is this kind of decentralized storage that people are divided into providers of storage and consumers of storage. And in the middle, there is this portal that synchronizes revenue. We have Arweave, we have IPFS, which is more kind of open service and can be used for free. And all of these approaches, they are steps. They're like kind of building blocks in the right direction. But none of them today is still viable to replace the architecture or the infrastructure that Facebook has, right?
It's kind of like we are still taking baby steps, aren't we?
Yeah, I think, and that's why I think that this evolution of Web3 will start from the things that kind of are easier to achieve in the current infrastructure, and we will talk about this in a moment. And only later, when either the technology develops or there is a more kind of significant shift in the power balance between these organizations, that we will be able to really replace massive, behemoths like Google or Facebook today. As of right now, in my opinion, most of the discussion around privacy and around kind of your rights for your data or up until now, it was mostly between governments and the big tech. That's my kind of opinion.
Which is the problem in itself, isn't
it? Exactly. What's happening is that you have all of these, let's call them great bureaucracies, right? Europe is a wonderful example. I will never forget, I bought a European car a few years ago. And when I went to, like every time I started the car, it would switch to, external air coming into the car, which in Israel is a problem because the air outside is very hot. So every time I had to switch it to the internal air so the air conditioner could be more effective. Because there is a European regulation that says that each car should automatically switch to external air because, so you don't suffocate during driving.
That's interesting. I didn't know that.
Yeah. Japanese car just would remember your last setting. But European car would take care of you.
I drive Japanese at the moment, which is a godsend. It's beautiful.
Yeah, exactly. So the Japanese car just remembers what you told it to, but European car says, no, I know better. There is a regulation here. And the same goes to for the auto start and stop button, which would always, switch on to auto stop, which in Israel also does. If you're at the light and the engine stops, and the air conditioning also becomes, either stops as well or kind of becomes much weaker. And then immediately car has to restart. So it's very annoying. So all of these things, like, somebody sat down and decided. And this is exactly what is happening with the data. We say, like, there is GDPR, which is a pain in the ass from one perspective. It's like attempting to protect our data on the other hand. So we do understand that where it's coming from. But when we're talking about things like, listen, my data should be stored in the country that I'm living in or whatever, so it should be regulated properly. These data sets should be registered in some central registry. It's all very well and good, but once again, it's like the government against big tech. Like where are the users here, right? Where are we? And Web3 is kind of taking these controls and says, wait a minute. It's all well and good, but let me try. Let me try to use my own data. Let's see how it goes. Now, there is a problem, and the problem is that it requires a lot of training to use your own data. Because one of the things that Web2 really kind of got us used to is that convenience. You can always lose your password. You can lose everything. You don't care about nothing. You can always restore it. Now everything is tied to your mobile phone somehow, and when you lose it, then you're in a problem. So there is very kind of convenient, and lazy atmosphere regarding your data. You connect to everything, you upload, you don't think about it much until it's too late, and then Google knocks at your door and says, listen, you're a child pornographer because you tried to send a photo of your child to a doctor. But it's rare enough and, happens somewhere else. Now, when you're switching to Web3, it's basically blockchain technology. So it's your keys and you're responsible. And this is something that takes quite a lot of effort to get used to, as you probably experienced.
I think, just touching on the Unseen Shadow King has made a quite an important comment in a community chat there in Telegram. How decentralized is the internet due to ISP's control? Now, I had an experience with this just yesterday. I was trying to connect to an MySQL database, which I had connected to before, using an old computer, my Mac. I've now got a Windows machine, which I'm impoverished. So I tried to connect to this MySQL database to do some functions and do some work, and it threw back, you're not allowed to connect via and it specified Virgin Media because that's my ISP. It wouldn't let me connect to this MySQL database through my ISP. I had to actually go onto my phone, put a hotspot on my 5G, connect my laptop to that to connect to the database. Very strange occurrence. Very strange occurrence.
It actually said like Virgin, like that?
It specified, yeah, you're not allowed to connect via ISP Virgin Media dot something.
Yep. What did Virgin ever do to them?
I haven't got a clue. Weird. But that's that it's the tip of the iceberg, isn't it? It's the centralized nature of the internet that these companies can do what the hell they like.
Yeah, so obviously this struggle goes kind of across the entire infrastructure, but just like with telephone companies, back in the day, we always see this kind of old, existing fighting the new type of infrastructure. And telephone companies were fighting Skype back in the day and lost, and there is no way to win this war for them. There's only way to kind of delay it, right? You can postpone your own death or the change that is inevitably coming. So we're not going to be able to convert to Web3 all across the world for the entire ecosystem. It will take a lot of time, even if it will happen. But I don't even think we should. I think there are a lot of things that should be centralized. Like, for example, search. Search can be centralized because this is a process where you are scanning a lot of different sources and you need a robust and reliable indexing system. But it does not mean necessarily that the access to the results of this centralized process should be also centralized. So we will start, I think, in resolve this kind of conundrum. We will start with points. And one of the things that we talked about already in the previous week was how this situation with Tornado Cash and the fact that it was sanctioned suddenly raised this debate about the centralization of access points from kind of merely theoretical to very, very, very acute and practical and immediate problem. Since today, as we know in Ethereum, most of the access to so-called DeFi and other decentralized applications are actually conducted through very centralized and very for-profit companies such as Infura and such as Alchemy and a lot of other kind of front ends that are running from centralized websites. Then suddenly somebody discovered that 30% of Ethereum nodes are actually running on Amazon, and the other 20% or something are running, or 12%, I don't remember the exact numbers, are running on Hetzner, which is a huge provider of compute services like from Germany. So yeah, like decentralized so far, but in reality, we see a lot of kind of points where it's not decentralized, and then you have exactly the same problems with censorship and problems with access control and, oh, you're from Virgin Media. No, we will not provide service for you.
Yeah. Mm.
And then there is privacy. So privacy is our bread and butter at Beam. We are doing quite a lot of efforts to preserve and maintain privacy across all of our applications that we develop. And privacy is, in my opinion, absolutely essential part of Web3. It's not something which is a nice to have feature that can be either added or removed or whatever, because after all, we have a right or a necessity to determine who has which access to this information. Today, all of this is completely opaque for us. Whenever the government, or in my opinion, not even the government, like some other bodies can also get access to this information, because we would never know, right? We would never know when somebody has access to Facebook servers, what they can know about us, what they can deduce about us, right? All of this information is handled somehow for us, and we have no idea.
Cambridge Analytics, prime example,
Exactly.
isn't it?
Yeah, just like one, well-known example. And when these things happen, everybody, goes like, "Oh, that's so bad, that's so terrible." But it will keep happening because that's how the infrastructure is built. Now, is like, I like to call it confidentiality, because privacy is kind of more vague and broad term, but confidentiality is exactly your decision. Who should know what about you? You can disclose some of the information when you want, but all the rest of the time you should be safe and sound and sound asleep, that nobody can really get anything about. Now, the information gets larger and more important and more kind of pervasive, and it's all around you for everything you're doing. And I think it was like a couple of years ago, or a year and a half ago, I discovered that My iPhone actually keeps the history of all of the locations I have ever visited. Do you know this feature?
Yeah, I think a lot of devices do that now. You've got to specifically go searching for where to turn these things off, haven't you?
Yeah, you need to go deep into the settings and find this tiny little thing that switches this function off. It's on by default. And if your wife just wants to know where you've been, she just can go to your iPhone and just read all of these like long list of locations that you have visited over like from the very beginning of time, and then it's synchronized to all of the rest of the devices. So this is just like one example of something nobody asked for. Like I never thought about, oh, how great would it be if my phone just held all of the locations I have ever visited, right? And by the way, some kind of not funny, but funny stories. But there is this during this war with Ukraine, there are journalists and there are kind of bystanders that are taking photos of the events. It can be photos of the army passing by or something happening, and all of these photos they are geotagged. So
Yep.
there was already several cases when a journalist from Russia was doing some report about the advancement of Russian forces, and the footage was geotagged. So the Ukrainians just intercepted, which is basically public transmission, and they knew exactly where these people were because nobody thinks about those things. Another very funny story was a couple of years ago when one of the companies that does these sports watches, the ones that you're running with, so
Yeah,
they
yeah.
took the data set of their kind of watches and they anonymized it. So they removed any personally identifiable information. So they thought, and they distributed it to researchers. I don't remember exactly what research it was, but they basically created this public data set. And it did not contain any information about the users or the name or whatever, but it did contain the coordinates of places that people are using these devices. And suddenly you saw like this kind of square in the middle of the desert in Iraq, which indicated that probably some soldiers on the military base there were running using these devices. And here you go, you disclose the location of his secret base.
It's funny. Like I said, I got this new laptop, and I immediately opened it up, and the first thing it told me was the weather where I am. I'm like, I don't need to know that. I can look out the window. So I had to go searching for the settings to turn the location settings off because it was on by default. So, it's all in your face. It's forced at you these days, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. So the amount of information that is being collected without your knowledge or like is once again enormous, and it's also you don't control it, right? So you don't know exactly how it's used.
Absolutely.
Uh, yeah, so this is kind of I would say, the last point that I want to make about Web3 and privacy. I think that today, but one more kind of funny remark. Uh, when we developed our DeFi platform in Beam, we were thinking like, listen, you're going to trade on decentralized protocols, AMM dexes, whatever, and it would be nice to have that nobody knows exactly your positions and what you're doing. But in fact, it was not exactly the case. Like nobody cared. People would be speculating and buying all kinds of stuff and selling all kinds of stuff, NFTs, whatever. However, when we started talking fairly recently with more Web3 oriented projects that wanted to solve real world problems, suddenly people started asking, wait a minute. So I'm building now a platform for freelancers, right? And now what? Everybody can see what this freelancer is paid and who is paying him and how much. It's a problem. That's not how it should work in the real world. And in the Web3 applications, when you are trying to apply this technology to more kind of non-trading, non-financial applications in the real world, suddenly people started asking, how do I make sure that my information is private and secure? Which is very interesting, in my opinion.
It's difficult. It's really difficult.
Okay, so we have about 10 minutes left of talking about this stuff. Does anyone have any questions, remarks? Let's hear some other people.
if we can start with any questions on the Web3 topic, save us diverging into anything else for now while we're on the topic. That'd be great if anybody has anything to contribute.
Yeah. Yeah. Usually people ask something like, why is my Beam wallets get stuck all the time? It's somewhat Web3 related.
When Moon? No. When Web3. I think the cornerstone we have is the DApp store. And I think the use of the Beam DApp store is at the moment very underrated and underused. I think it could be a tool for developers and publishers to really tap into that confidential privacy world to it just keeps a bit of sanity and a bit of safety to yourself. It's not. It's like you're not allowing corporations to use your data to turn you into an advertising billboard, or everything is as it should be there. But as I said, baby steps, isn't it?
Yeah, and I also feel that several projects, which, in my opinion, are really kind of hitting the point, and but they're early. It seems that a lot of the infrastructure projects that we have today that are trying to solve things like decentralized storage and decentralized compute, right, which are difficult problems. It seems that they're kind of in this spot when they are thinking ahead because they are smart people and these kind of problems will need to be resolved in the future, but the future is not there yet, which is why these projects sometimes fail and fail to get traction. And I'm not talking about Beam in this case. I'm talking about some other projects that we kind of researched recently, because the demand is not really there yet. We are moving, as you said, baby steps, and some of ours are larger than others. Right? It's very interesting situation. I think a lot of these solutions that are now provided by kind of projects in the initial stages, they will reappear later, maybe in a year, maybe in two. And then people will say, oh, wait a minute, back in 2022, there was a project that was doing that, but nobody needed it back then. And this is when it's going to start rolling, because the world is changing in a way that there is this kind of balance of trust. There's a balance of trust between people and governments and big companies and small companies. And we see it shifting. The Bitcoin did not become so kind of popular, out of the blue. And when people say, "Wait a minute, Bitcoin is 14 years old and it still not can be used anywhere," and I would say, "Yeah, but listen, how can it be that the project that is 14 years old and cannot be used anywhere is still that popular? Because it answers some kind of question or demand."
The
Even
evolution of history is the same though. Look at how many coins the Romans minted, and how many different types of coins that they tried to push to the masses before they were used as mainstream. It's a similar sort of step. It's just a different method.
Definitely. So exactly the same thing is happening right now. So people want more control and they cannot get it yet, but that's where we're headed. Decentralized identity, in my opinion, is one of the very interesting topics. And for many weeks already, I'm trying to bring one of our friends who is kind of dedicated to the topic of decentralized identity to speak in one of our spaces. I hope that one day I will succeed to catch him. He's constantly moving between countries and doing a lot of stuff. Because decentralized identity is one of the building blocks, which is very basic, very essential, but also very complicated. Today we have a lot of different kind of types of identity. Some of them are local, like to your country or to your university. Some of them are more kind of widely recognized, like for example, your driver's license, you can take it and go to many, many different countries and it will be accepted. So there is more kind of agreement how to treat these identities and their properties. But as we move along and the globalization and people are constantly moving from place to place, you do want something to be even more, ubiquitous and even more general. And uh, you should be able to prove like your credentials whenever you're going. So it's a very interesting topic. It has a lot of work done today around it, both on the standardization level and on the technological projects that are trying to make use of it. So these guys that I was talking about project is talking about universities and university degrees and how you can encode those on the blockchain. So yeah, a lot of interesting stuff is happening
I
around it.
think decentralized identity is a massive step. And again, Unseen Shadow King shared a link to a tweet he's made, um, where it's made me think there has to be some sort of trade-off. Because going back to the photo thing, where he says you can, erase EXIF data from your photos, etc., etc. Therein is another problem: is where lies the copyright? Because the copyright is embedded in the EXIF data of a photograph. So whoever took the photo owns the copyright of the photo. If your EXIF data, the metadata of that photo, then nobody knows who took the photo. So a decentralized identity system could go great in many industries, especially media. Mm.
Yeah, so absolutely. So if you combine that with the algorithms that can kind of detect similarities if somebody tries to rip you off, and you can prove that you were the original. So yeah, there is a very massive field of opportunity here. Hope we will, live long enough to see that happen and definitely help it happen using
Excellent.
our, yeah,
It's
measly
all very
skills.
exciting. Um, I think we're in the infancy, to be honest, and I think we should be looking forwards, and we should all be quite excited about what's to come here, because this is very new, and it's what people as a population, whichever country you live in, really need. It's just a sort of, I wouldn't say a comfort thing, but a security that you are who you are, and your identity is yours and shouldn't be sold for profit.
That's for sure. Okay, so if we don't have any questions or notes from the community, I think we will start wrapping it up. We're approaching on the hour.
Okie
Um,
dokie.
yeah, once again, the hard fork is coming and update your wallets. I don't
There
remember the
was
exact date.
sorry to interrupt. There was one question from Joe earlier on the Telegram, and he's anticipating and quite interested in um, somebody is building a stable coin on Beam. When do we expect it released by the third party creating it?
Yeah, so I think it's going to happen pretty soon, at least, there's the beginning of the process, which is usually deployment to .NET. This is how we're testing all of our prototypes, and obviously that's what we recommended to our partners to do. And yeah, so once it will be deployed, I think they will update it. I expect it to happen in the next couple of weeks, but
The
once
DAppNet
again,
wallet is actually fantastic. I play with it on a daily basis. If our users here that are listening haven't got the DAppNet wallet, then I'd recommend
yeah.
wholly to get it. And it's I know I've probably stepped beyond my comfort zone also, but you can actually mine the DAppNet coins. It's as a test net, it doesn't really matter, but it's an interesting concept that we can test these things quickly before they move to mainnet.
Yeah, all of the latest versions of all of the applications are first of all going to this dedicated network. So that's where you can see the latest stuff happening. Yeah, and once anything happens, obviously we will inform using our usual channels, Telegram and Twitter. So stay tuned. The bridges are also moving along quite nicely, and they're also coming. So I think all of these applications will be rolled out in the next couple of months, like September for sure. The upcoming 7.2 version will feature the asset swap, and we will have an asset swap party the moment this feature is tested enough to play with. Yeah, so stay tuned, and thank you very, very much, as usual, for being here and listening to us. And if you have anything to say at any time, reach out, Telegram, Twitter, whatever. We're always here and listening.
Fantastic. Been great.
Thanks a lot, Raskul, for being here.
No problem. I've enjoyed it very much.
Yeah, you're also going to participate in the Beam Africa space, right?
Yeah. Every Friday, Beam Africa does an event. Asked me to come on to talk a bit about it. So if you can, next Friday night, there'll be further details released on Beam Africa and Scarlett and Miran and the guys over there.
Yeah,
on
we
that.
will
So
tweet it.
I'll be on that to answer some questions. So get your mining questions ready, and I'll be there.
Great. Okay, so have a great evening, day, night, everyone, and we will see you next week as usual.
Take care.
Bye bye.